Have you ever misplaced your keys or walked into a room and forgotten why you went there? It's something we all experience from time to time, and we usually laugh it off. But imagine if these small lapses became part of everyday life. Imagine struggling to follow a conversation, getting lost in familiar streets, or forgetting the faces of the people you love most. This is the reality of dementia, a condition that affects not just memory, but language, reasoning, behavior, emotions, and ultimately, independence. It robs people of who they are and disconnects them from the world around them. But here's the powerful part. While dementia is a serious condition, it's not inevitable. Science now shows us that many cases could be delayed or even prevented. So today, let's dive into what dementia really is, why it happens, and what we can do, starting today, to protect our most precious asset, our brain. Dementia is an umbrella term, not a specific disease, but a syndrome, a collection of symptoms that affect memory, thinking, behavior, and the ability to perform everyday tasks. It happens when brain cells, known as neurons, are damaged and lose their ability to communicate with each other effectively. This damage can happen in different areas of the brain, which is why people with dementia can present so differently. Some may forget names or recent events. Others may lose the ability to speak clearly, solve problems, or recognize loved ones. In advanced stages, dementia can even affect motor skills, swallowing, and basic bodily functions. The most common type of dementia is Alzheimer's disease, which accounts for about 60 to 70% of cases. In Alzheimer's, abnormal proteins, amyloid plaques, and tau tangles build up in the brain, disrupting communication between neurons and leading to cell death. But Alzheimer's is just one form. There's also vascular dementia, caused by reduced blood flow to the brain, often after a stroke or due to chronic conditions like high blood pressure. Lewy body dementia, linked to abnormal protein deposits called Lewy bodies, often accompanied by Parkinsonian symptoms and vivid hallucinations. Frontotemporal dementia, which tends to affect younger individuals and often leads to changes in personality, behavior, and language before memory is affected. Each type has its own pattern, but all forms of dementia are progressive, meaning they worsen over time. This is a complex question. The biggest known risk factor is age. Most people who develop dementia are over 65, but aging alone doesn't cause dementia. Some people live well into their 90s with sharp minds. So what else is going on? Genetics plays a role, especially in early onset forms of dementia, which can appear before age 65. The APOE4 gene, for example, increases the risk of Alzheimer's disease, but having the gene doesn't guarantee you'll develop it. More importantly, research has shown that lifestyle and environmental factors have a massive impact on brain health. Here are some key risk factors. Cardiovascular disease. What's bad for the heart is bad for the brain. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity, and diabetes all increase the risk of dementia. Smoking and alcohol. These can accelerate cognitive decline and increase the risk of vascular damage to the brain. Chronic inflammation. Seen in autoimmune conditions and poor diet, inflammation can damage neurons over time. Low levels of education. Not because intelligence protects the brain, but because cognitive stimulation builds a reserve that helps the brain withstand damage. Social isolation and hearing loss have also emerged as surprisingly strong risk factors. When we stop engaging with the world, our brains start to shrink, literally. So dementia doesn't just happen to us. It's often the result of years of changes and exposures that accumulate over time. This is the part where we shift from fear to empowerment. While it's true that we can't change our age or genetics, The majority of risk factors for dementia are within our control. In fact, studies suggest that up to 40% of dementia cases could be prevented or delayed through lifestyle changes. That's an incredible opportunity. Let's take a detailed look at the key preventative strategies, many of which benefit not only our brains but our overall health and quality of life. Stimulate your brain. Keep learning. Keep growing. Your brain thrives on novelty and challenge. The more you use it, the more resilient it becomes. Learn a new language, take a class, or start a new hobby, like photography, chess, or painting. Read books outside your usual genre. Try nonfiction if you usually read fiction, or vice versa. These activities help build cognitive reserve, extra neural connections that act as a buffer against cognitive decline. Exercise regularly. Move for your mind. Engage in strategy games or puzzles, crosswords, Sudoku, card games, or digital brain training apps. Exercise is one of the most powerful tools we have against cognitive decline. Physical activity increases blood flow to the brain, reduces inflammation, and supports the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that encourages the growth of new neurons. Aim for at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week. Brisk walking, dancing, cycling, swimming, all count. Include strength training twice a week, especially in older adults, to support balance and reduce the risk of falls and frailty. Even small bursts of movement like stretching, walking upstairs, or gardening add up. What you eat profoundly impacts how your brain ages. Eat a brain-friendly diet. Feed your future. The Mediterranean diet and Mind diet are both linked to a significantly lower risk of Alzheimer's disease. They are rich in antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids, and anti-inflammatory compounds, which protect brain cells from damage. Include more of leafy green vegetables, kale, spinach, rocket, berries, especially blueberries and strawberries, whole grains and legumes, olive oil as the primary cooking fat, nuts and seeds, especially walnuts and flax seeds, fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel, herbs and spices like turmeric, rosemary, and cinnamon. Avoid from these foods processed and red meats, added sugars and sugary drinks, excessive alcohol, more than 14 units per week. Prioritize sleep. Cleanse the brain. Good quality sleep isn't a luxury, it's essential maintenance for your brain. Stick to a regular sleep schedule. During deep sleep, the brain activates a waste clearance system called the glymphatic system, which flushes out toxins including beta amyloid, the protein associated with Alzheimer's. Aim for 7-9 hours of uninterrupted sleep per night. Avoid screens and bright lights in the hour before bed. Treat sleep disorders like sleep apnea or insomnia. They significantly increase dementia risk. Stay socially engaged. Connect for cognition. Social interaction keeps your mind active and your mood stable. Studies show that people who maintain strong social ties are less likely to develop dementia. Schedule regular time with friends and family. Join a club, volunteer, or attend community events. Even chatting with a neighbor or joining an online group can help. Isolation and loneliness aren't just sad, they're biologically stressful and harmful to the brain. Protect your hearing. Tune into the world. Hearing loss in midlife is one of the strongest modifiable risk factors for dementia. When hearing declines, the brain has to work harder to decode sound, which can shrink memory centers over time. Get regular hearing tests, especially after age 40. Don't delay using hearing aids if needed. They don't just improve hearing, they preserve brain function. There's a clear link between vascular health and brain health. Manage your heart health. Love your heart. Save your brain. High blood pressure. diabetes, and high cholesterol can all damage the blood vessels that supply the brain. This can lead to small silent strokes, white matter changes, and eventually vascular dementia. Monitor your blood pressure and keep it within healthy limit. Manage diabetes with diet, medication, and monitoring. Stay active, eat well, and if you smoke, make a plan to quit. Limit alcohol and avoid excessive weight gain. Reduce chronic stress. Protect your brain from burnout. Long-term stress increases cortisol levels, which can damage areas of the brain like the hippocampus, essential for memory. Practice mindfulness meditation, deep breathing, or yoga. Get outdoors. Nature is a natural stress reliever. Seek professional help if stress or anxiety is overwhelming. Protecting your mental health is not separate from protecting your brain. It's at the core of it. Treat depression early. Mood and memory are linked. Depression in midlife and late life increases the risk of cognitive decline. It may also be an early symptom of dementia, so early intervention is critical. If you or someone you know is struggling with low mood, fatigue, or loss of interest in activities, talk to a healthcare provider. Therapy, medication, and lifestyle changes can all help, and the sooner, the better. Limit alcohol. Drink responsibly. Chronic heavy drinking damages the brain, leading to a type of dementia called alcohol-related dementia or Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome. Stick to recommended limits. No more than 14 units per week, spread out over several days. Choose alcohol-free days throughout the week. Protect your head. Prevent injury. Head trauma, especially repeated concussions, increases the risk of dementia, particularly chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, seen in athletes and those with repeated head injuries. Wear helmets when cycling or riding. Fall-proof your home, especially in older adults. Use seat belts and avoid risky behaviors. Stay curious and purposeful. Never stop growing. Having a sense of purpose and engaging in meaningful activities is linked to slower cognitive decline. Set goals, plan projects, volunteer or mentor others. Find what gives you joy and do more of it. Mental well-being, optimism, and a sense of meaning are not soft factors. They're powerful protectors of cognitive health. So let's be clear. Dementia is not just about old age or bad luck. It's often the result of a lifetime of choices, environments, and habits. That means we have a window of opportunity, not just in our 60s and 70s, but right now, to make a difference. The brain is incredibly adaptable, and it's never too late or too early to start taking care of it. Every meal we eat, every walk we take, every conversation we enjoy, these are not just moments. They are investments in our future selves. Let's protect our memories, our identities, our stories, because a healthy brain means a better life, and that is something worth fighting for. We may not be able to eliminate dementia completely, but we can push it back. We can buy precious time. We can live fuller, sharper, more connected lives for longer. Dementia is one of the most feared diagnoses, not just for what it does to the brain, but for what it takes away: memories, identity, independence, and connection. But we are not powerless. Every day we make choices that affect our long-term brain health. What we eat, how we move, how we sleep, and how we connect with others. These are not just habits. They are investments in our future selves. And while there's no guaranteed way to prevent dementia, we now know that we can shift the odds. The seeds of brain health are planted long before old age, in childhood, in adulthood, in every moment we choose to take care of our bodies and minds. So let's stop thinking of dementia as something that just happens. Let's start thinking of it as something we can fight, one choice at a time. Because protecting our brains isn't just about adding years to life, it's about adding life to those years.